Hello and welcome to the Ghibli Rewatch series of the Overly Animated Podcast, where we'll be going through every Studio Ghibli movie chronologically from the beginning. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Maddie Potter.
Hello.
We're talking, you'll see what we're talking about in a second, but first, join us in rewatching or watching for the first time all the Studio Ghibli movies now that they're available for streaming for the first time on HBO Max in the United States and Netflix and most of the rest of the world, including this movie, which I was surprised to find as part of the Studio Ghibli collection. Pleasantly surprised to find it included. New podcasts up every Wednesday as we go through the whole Ghibli catalog. Find everything about our broader podcast at overlyanimated.com, including all the ways to contact us. I'm more of a Ghibli expert, be joined by co-hosts with a variety of Ghibli experience, and today is Ocean Waves, the little watched TV movie that Studio Ghibli put out in the 90s. You've probably not seen it, so I'll introduce, maybe if you're listening to this, you have seen it. I guess, I don't know how that works, but I'll introduce it and give some more information. But full spoilers for Ocean Waves is coming up right after my introduction. So go watch it on HBO Max, Netflix, or wherever, and then come back. No dub for this movie, so we don't need to give any sub or dub disclaimer, but let's get into Ocean Waves. So my snarky comment is normally I do an introduction for each of them. And, even though a lot of these movies need no introduction, they're so amazing. This movie probably does need an introduction, considering I don't know if anyone knows about it. So this is a 1993 TV movie. It's only an hour and 13 minutes, based on the shoujo novel I Can Hear the Sea by Seiko Himuro. Directed by Tomomi Mochizuki and written by Kaori Nakamura. And Takahata had some involvement in producing this movie, so that's kind of the involvement of Miyazaki or Takahata. I believe that makes this the only Studio Ghibli movie written by a woman.
By a woman.
Well, also the book is written by a woman, so women wrote the. I don't really know anything about Kaori Nakamura, but I'm assuming based on the name. And the director was brought in, I believe, to direct this movie. He directed some other anime TV shows around the time. This is an attempt by Studio Ghibli to make a movie with their younger staff. A lot of people in their 20s and 30s working on this movie. Has never been released in the US until a few years ago, and no dub has ever been made for this movie. So you're watching the sub here. Maddie was forced to watch the sub.
I feel so pained by this. I had to watch the screen the whole time. I couldn't even look away.
It's a good thing. You got to experience this movie's highlight by watching the screen. The animation. It is a romance. This movie is a romance drama with a love triangle. I think it's the only love triangle we get in Ghibli, although I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch Owls. I don't know if there's a third member of the... I don't think so.
Sort of, but it doesn't really matter. It's very...
There you go. There you go. So, okay, let's talk about Ocean Waves. Very big difference from the previous movies we've been discussing here in terms of lower scale, not directed by Miyazaki or Takahata. Michelle, I think both of your first time watching this movie recently. Michelle, yes. What did you think of Ocean Waves?
This is one of those movies I tried to track down when I was younger, but yeah, it was absolutely impossible. And I didn't even know it was a made-for-TV movie. I wonder why they only wanted it to be on TV. Or maybe it's because, it was an experiment with the Ghibli staff. You're like, okay, yeah, all of these bright-eyed youngsters, so let's see what you got. Oh, that's nice. All right, I guess we'll air it on TV, I guess, but that's kind of how it feels. But honestly, I thought this was a perfectly fine movie. The animation was solid. I feel like it kind of reminds me it does feel very hyper realistic in the way that Say Only Yesterday is. I was not expecting the love triangle stuff, and I would say even the promotional image I'd always associated of this with the main guy and the girl on a beach. That never actually happens, does it? In the movie? Yeah. It should have been the two guys hanging out, looking at the water, because he never hangs out with the girl. So it's my whole expectation was completely thrown off based on that. I I mean, like, I don't want to jump too hard into, like, how gay I thought it was.
Yeah, it
'cause,
was
like,
so
I know
gay.
it's so gay. And if this was, like, if the movie was screenwritten by, like, a woman or multiple women, like, I don't, like, maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe not. But, like, there were so many instances, like, when I was watching this, I kept being like, whoa, like, wait, do you say that, like, he feels like different about Yutaka than like all his other like friends, and that like he's like especially special to him? Or like, why does Yutaka, when he sees Rikako, like and he's so like excited about her, immediately call his best friend to come look at her with him? Like, what does that mean?
It's
like, that's interesting. Like,
yeah.
that doesn't seem like a normal guy thing to do. So there's like all this mounting evidence, so that by the end, like, when the two get like paired off, and like the seeming like ultimate bromance is just never recovers. I was a little sad about that. I felt like that was like the epitome of like a lost opportunity. But
Okay.
I mean, so in its way, like, yeah, it's definitely a love triangle, but not in the way I think they want me to think it is.
Yeah, we'll discuss whether it's intentional, but it's true. Okay, there you go. Maddie also watched the movie for the first time. What do you think of Ocean Waves?
I think that this, like all the other Ghibli movies, I feel like I watch them and I think they're kind of weird, but I feel like it's on purpose. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be a little uncomfortable, doesn't feel like quite the right word, but I feel like I'm supposed to not quite know how to feel exactly when I finish a Ghibli movie usually. But this movie, it just feels kind of weird in the sense that I'm never quite sure what I don't mean it like in a bad way, but I don't understand what like the driving force is. Like, I don't understand
the drama, I guess. But,
yeah, but I mean, like, the parts are so disparate that like it's like a flashback, but I don't really know why he's going back to where he's going until later. And it's like, that makes sense. Sometimes they do stuff like that, but it's also just really weird. It's just, I'm never quite sure what's happening.
Yeah,
and
I think that's fair. Did you like it?
I liked parts of it. I liked that the characters seemed generally, whether they were good or not, I wanted to like them. I wanted to like the people I was seeing. I wanted to like how they were acting and what they were doing on screen. I think sometimes it was very gay, like very, very, very gay. Between specifically, oh wow, the two male leads, they were very gay for each other. I am not sure how else we were supposed to read this other than them being super gay for each other.
Yeah, Dylan, you're saying, like, we'll talk about whether it's intentional, but it's like, how could it not? The evidence is everywhere.
I mean, it's Japan in the 90s. I don't know if it's the default
90s.
is. Yeah, what the 90s
same
is so...
time Japan made Utena. I mean, come on. It's Sailor Moon. Come on.
I think Ghibli was doing that, but these are different people, maybe.
Like, not to mention, like, on top of all that, there's the part where just randomly Rikako, is that her name? Rikako is heading to Tokyo with this girl that apparently she just met alone. And I'm just like, I know that it's supposed to be just someone for moral support, but this is also really gay.
That's an interesting ship. Okay. Rikako and Yumi or something? Whatever her name was.
Yeah, Yumi, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, clearly there's a topic we're most interested in talking about.
Dylan, are you surprised?
No, obviously not.
How could you be surprised by this?
No, not surprised. I mean, that was okay. So I did find this movie when I was going through Ghibli catalog for the first time as like a teenager, and I remember a positive reaction to this. I mean, I was like very into romance stuff, especially I think in like high school. So I think I was into this. I still liked it this time. I mean, clearly, like, this is a big shock coming off of the previous 6, 7, 8, movies, which all in their own ways are kind of masterpieces that we've talked about. So this is we're in a new era with Ghibli now. There's going to be a lot coming up. Also, the two best ones, but there's going to be a lot coming up that aren't as good. But Ocean Waves, I appreciate it for what it is. It's like very different than the Ghibli catalog. I really like how dramatic this is. I like that the characters take a lot of unlikable actions. This is almost never happens with Studio Ghibli movies. And I like that it's just like this super dramatic romance. But we can talk about like how much the romances earns, and we'll compare it to the relationship between Taku and Yutaka. But I buy into most of it. The biggest thing though is that I feel like this does uphold Studio Ghibli's animation standards. Like the visuals, I think, are really, really good in this movie, and that was kind of the main thing I was focusing on this time, was how gorgeous some of the settings were. Really loved the scene of Taku and Yutaka on near the sea.
That like and the trumpets come in, and I just want to point out that the trumpet sound sounded very similar to like when he realizes he was in love with Rikako the whole time. It's the same motif they use, so like I feel like, if anything, there's some like it's more than a triangle. It's like it's a circle, maybe.
There's still 3 people involved. It could be a recycling logo triangle. Yeah,
a recycling triangle.
Yeah, the arrows pointing to each other. I don't know if that's a universal symbol. I don't know what else. The other thing for this time watching, I really liked all the just Japan talk, especially towards the end of the movie. There's just a lot of like talk about like the Japanese geography and life, and I don't know, that I thought that was really good. Especially in the scene of the reunion scene, they just cut between a lot of conversations, and we just get small glimpses of people comparing them. They went off to different places and comparing their lives to each other and stuff. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie, and that doesn't even have any of the main romance drama, so I don't know if that's good, but I did like all that. So I don't know. Clearly this is, I think, not as good as some of the others we're talking about, but I think that it is arguably refreshingly different, and it has some positives. What's the romance like? We can get into Taku and Yutaka from talking about Taku and Rikako, I think, like comparing them. And I was going to say, I did really respond strongly to Taku and Yutaka's friendship, in quotes, their bond. Yeah, I think that really stood out. But Michelle, were you buying the romance between Taku and Rikako that happens kind of at the end? They and getting into spoilers now, they kind of get together, I guess, finally, as Taku realizes he's liked Rikako all along. What was your reaction to all of that?
I mean, it made total sense. It's not that I didn't see it coming. I think one thing that really stood out to me is like, because like Rikako, she's coming from Tokyo. She's from like a very well-known, wealthy family. She's moving to the country because she comments on Taku's accent and says he sounds like a samurai. And one thing Taku does really well is that he like kind of just treats her like a normal person, and he's even like willing to just like criticize her, be like, hey, like that comment you made bothered me, and like, so like they have a very genuine rapport, which I think helps a lot in their relationship developing later on. It is interesting that like they honestly don't interact a ton, but maybe that's quite frankly part of what keeps the spark alive for like years after, because then it's mostly like in their head how much they like this person, because they've only interacted with them maybe 5 times, at least from the context of this movie. So like, yeah, I mean, like he's straight with her, he helps her, he keeps lending her money, and I mean that's like a quality, I guess. And
what do you think of the move of Taku willingly lending her like $600?
Oh my god!
Well, it's because she's so cute and she's in trouble, and that's like the kind of guy he is, and I like get it. Like, I mean, yeah, like if I'd saved that much money and some girl who was really cute was like, please, like I'm so desperate, I'm coming to you. Like, well, like I mean, like, he's a kid. Like, what's he gonna do? He's not gonna say no. It's not who he
money
is.
that he's
he's dependable.
he's earned from his job,
mean,
where she's like a rich girl. Like, interesting.
But the thing is, like, I don't think she's rich anymore, because when you find out about the divorce, I think like the dad has most of the money.
Yeah.
And that's why she couldn't get any. Like, she had to hide the money from her mom. It's not like she has a bank account she can just pull money out of.
I mean, she did get the money back from him.
I do think she's kind of broken. I think that's part of the issue, because like the family name is well known in this small town. Gossips like crazy. Like the parents and the teachers talk to each other and know stuff like the same time the kids do. I think that sounds like an excruciating situation to live in, where everyone knows everyone's stuff. But again, that's why Rikako like can't, like, if everyone found out that she and her mom are broke, that's like kind of disgraceful, and that's more ammunition because they already stand out in this new town. So I mean, like, yeah, Taku is really dependable. I did find it really funny where she'd be like, all right, like, you're going to go, you can't stay with me, my dad. You're going to stay in a separate apartment. Oh, I'm mad at my dad now. I'm going to come stay here. And he sleeps in the bathtub. Oh, my friend's coming to visit. Can you leave now? Like, it's just so, like, her, I don't want to call it bossiness, but her just, like, being upfront about, like, where her boundaries are is so great. And it, like, surprised me every time she would do something like that. And then he even, like, comes on, like, when she finds out her ex-boyfriend, like, started dating her friend, like, as soon as she left town. And so she needed someone there so it wouldn't be as awkward. And that was kind of Taku's breaking point. And he's like, okay, like, you're both stupid. I'm leaving. Like, again, that's a great moment for Rikako to see Taku as, like, a legit real person. Who's not, like, he's a nice guy who will help her, but he has his limitations. Like, he has moments where he will also snap back, and it's great. And she responds to that. And the next time she sees him in the apartment, she like apologizes. She's like, yeah, we both are stupid. Like, I'm sorry. It was just a bad situation for me, but I probably shouldn't have asked you. So like, I get it. I feel like they have a rapport, even though, like, I do think it's, like, pretty hilarious. Like, Rikako punches him, like, 3 times? He's always getting punched, and you kind of, like, really punches him. And it's, like, everyone's upset that he's kind of dense about how he's reacting to things. Stupid. But it's, like, part of his charm, too, I would say.
Okay, that's a lot of stuff. But for context, the setting of this movie is in Kochi, which is I would say it's a city, kind of like a smaller city though, in the island of Shikoku in southern Japan. But yeah, the different dialect that doesn't fully, we don't fully understand the differences and stuff. But it's a different region of Japan. A lot. I don't know. A lot about Rikako's actions, and sounds like you're on board with most of what she's doing here.
I mean, she's imperfect the way they're all imperfect. Dylan, you were saying, like, you like that a lot of the characters in this movie, unlike some other movies in the Ghibli canon, seem to just, like, do a lot of things that don't, like, look great. But I think, again, if they're all in high school, it's like, yeah, everyone's, especially, like, when you're having a lot of feelings, like, you make a lot of mistakes, and you do, like, very regrettable things. So, like, that's, again, this is a high drama movie, so, like, that is all in place here.
It is high drama. No, honestly, like, I find it refreshing in just how realistic it feels. Just, these are, like, 3 idiots who are, like, super selfish. They're so idiots. Like, selfish idiot, but, like, and they could just talk to each other and avoid all this, but it is high school. Yeah, like, that's my favorite part. Maddie, what do you think? What do you think of these characters? Like, are you on board with what Michelle's talking about with Rikako specifically?
I'm just still stuck on Michelle saying that she would give money to a pretty girl.
Yeah, would you give $600 to a pretty girl, Maddie?
Face. I mean, it's so round and cute.
She's still not denying it that she would give that much money to a girl.
No, she's saying she actively would.
I don't have that much money on me in high school, but like in college, maybe. Yeah.
Why? How did he save? I mean, I guess he was working a lot, but.
Yeah, he was working a lot. I think that's it.
For his mob boss. Yeah, boss.
Watch with smokes, yeah.
Sorry, Dylan. What was the actual question? What you wanted to do? What did you want to actually?
What do you think of these characters? Are you on board with them being like flawed but likable?
I like it. I think the characters themselves are good. My issues with this movie are not with the characters. I think they're very. So
how about the original question I asked Michelle? The romance at the end that culminates with Taku realizing he likes Rikako. Now you're not on board.
See, that's my problem. All the characters are so grounded and so like in this world, and then you get to the you get to this part where it's like all the plot is just wild. Like they're in high school and they go on vacation to Hawaii with their school.
Yeah, which, for the record, I think is a realistic, like, in Japan, they do take high school field trips, and, if Persona 5 has taught me anything, Hawaii is one of the places people go to.
But I mean, like, they were gonna go to Tokyo as a class, and then they went to Hawaii instead?
It's a lot closer to Japan than to us, I'll say. Hawaii.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
It is.
Not as close as Tokyo, still.
Not as close as Tokyo.
It still feels like a jump. Is what I'll say.
Yeah, I didn't really get the whole canceling the trip and stuff too. Like all that is a lot of
No, the canceling made sense. It was like so, and that was before. That was when they were in middle school, I think, still, or junior high.
It was the origin story for Taku
this is where
and Yutaka.
like the gossip becomes important, like, which is insane. But it's so apparently the students weren't performing academically to the standards of what their school is used to, and
seems like an excuse by the school.
I think it was like, oh no, like, you're not doing as good as like and like maybe the reputations of the school's academics are a big deal. Like colleges very much are that way in terms of like how they're ranked on like US News World Report. Like that stuff does matter to them. I could see it mattering in Japan. But yeah, they were really mad. Like, and that's the origin story of Yukata and Taku, because they met because they were the only ones that raised their hands saying they disagreed with this insane decision. So they both got detention and got to know each other.
Protest boyfriends.
Yes,
that's how they
are though. They're protest boyfriends.
I definitely like these characters. I think that's maybe some of our audience might not agree. I think Rikako in particular takes a pretty unsympathetic action when she lies to Taku about why she wants money. But
it's complicated again. Like this community gossips so much. If she told him, she's not guaranteed that he wouldn't tell his best friend that that she can't afford it, and then everyone finds out and her family loses face, and it's a big deal for them. I think it makes sense. She's just protecting.
I think there's some justification in there. That's a good point. That the movie, I think, explains everything enough. I found her, even if that's unlikable, which I found her sympathetic, and Taku, I think, is and even though they're all slapping each other at the end of the movie, I still.
It's so good. Though.
Oh no, it is great because the first time Rikako slaps Taku, he smacks her back, and it's like, yes.
Yeah. So first Rikako and Taku slap each other, then Rikako slaps Taku, and then Yutaka punches Taku.
Punches him out. Yes.
Oh my god,
that's so the love triangle circle right there.
That's like the movie really ramps up the drama, and it does feel I don't want to say forced, but it's like intentional, I guess, at the end. But I feel like it's good. I feel like that's the move at the end of this movie is to go hard as they are with each other. I mean, it is. Like, I feel like that's the appeal of a movie is how dramatic and stupid these people are, and how about this? So here's I'm gonna bring in. I actually have some quotes from the Studio Ghibli, the films of Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata by Colin, Odell, and Michelle LeBlanc. They say Ocean Waves is unusual in that the romance is seen through the eyes of Taku, but lacks the overt comedy associated with the more male-oriented versions of the genre. While it doesn't lack humor or scenes of lechery, the boys go Google-eyed at the girls playing tennis. The dramatic tension and need to come to terms with emotional rites of passage makes it a more melodramatic and thoughtful piece. A girls' film for boys. So how about that characterization? A girls' film for boys. It's based on a shoujo novel, so for girls. I don't know why it needs to be.
Novel, maybe?
I don't think so. I assume not. I doubt it. I don't know why this needs to be for boys. It does have a male main character and a male perspective, and it is a very girlsy feeling movie, considering it has a male main character. So I think that's part of the appeal, and I think that's kind of what makes it cool. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it's necessarily specifically for boys, but
it doesn't really feel like that to me.
Yeah, that was my reaction to that quote, but I guess I see what they're saying though, and that I think normally these stories would have a female lead. I like that it
love too telling. Gosh,
the boys, it's. I mean, I think it's good that they're playing into more traditional Japanese media, like oriented at girls' storytelling and tropes, and also like portraying guys in that context too. Yeah, I mean, just all the like melodrama and stuff, and I think the movie kind of plays into it well. The rain moments. So I feel like I buy this ending where Taku's like, I loved Rikako all along. I feel like I feel like he should have obviously. I mean, Yutaka tells him this, I think, earlier that yeah, you love her. I didn't realize it.
Well, he confesses it, I think, when they're on the pier thing, right? Like that's when
Yutaka, like, I don't think Taku confirms or something. I don't think it like sinks in with him. But they're kind of like talking about it regardless. But my thought is he willingly immediately goes to Tokyo with this girl for like with very little prompting. I think it's clear at that point.
He doesn't know.
It's out of nowhere.
He is attracted to her essence, and he hasn't really put the whole piece together.
Yeah, exactly.
But she's very upset, and no one in the school except for his best friend like gives her the time of day. And this girl she knows, Yumi's ditching her because she's chickening out. And seems happy to just leave her and go back home and just not use her plane ticket. So, like, again, he's dependable. Taku's very dependable. It's one of his best traits, and he really leans into it in that moment.
He sleeps in the bathtub for her.
Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like you can sleep in a bathtub for a girl without any argument. You know, I think that's another sign.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That was... Taku, please. Like,
what were you gonna say, Maddie?
I was just gonna say, let's not like dress this up like the essence of her. Like, he's a high schooler. There's a part earlier in the movie where they're watching girls play tennis, and it's not.
Yeah,
that's probably the least sympathetic thing any of the boys do all movie.
I honestly found it very sympathetic. I could explain why.
Really?
I mean, yeah, because like, and it's not like I've unfortunately come across enough contemporary anime to know like a super lechery like upskirt shot or like fixating on leg thighs too long or boob jiggles, and that's not really what that was. The tennis thing, I think it was really just like seeing the girls move in motion in a way that they never really have access to, and it just kind of like, oh, these people exist and they're like here. And like, wow, like I never have time to notice that, but that's like really cool. And there's like a tiny moment where like one of them like raises their arm and her little shirt thing comes up like a tiny bit, maybe to like reveal a navel or something. And I think it's really just the context of like, oh my God, like so much of this person is so like forbidden from me because like schools are still pretty gendered and I probably have a lot of guy friends, but like, wow, this person's like alive and has their own body, and it's like I didn't see very much of it, but like that's why it's exciting. Like a belly button is like everything because I usually see nothing, and it's just like I honestly think it's like a legitimate fascination, and I don't think they made it over.
This is one of the more interesting things that
Michelle
like said.
Again,
this is the gayest thing that you've ever said, Michelle.
What?
This is such a gay way to describe women. It's such a gay way to describe them.
I mean, I just think it's valid. Like, I understand. Like, and again, if it was like a guy, like, you know, playing basketball or something, and like he leaned up to shoot and you saw like his happy trail, like, I think girls would have a very similar reaction. It's like, we never see this part of a boy, and it's so exciting, and we're around that age where it's like, oh wow, like look at this, like it's a tiny glimmer of something that we haven't figured out about ourselves, but like it's there, and like that's the whole excitement. And I feel like that's like more true to being like of that age than like necessarily being like leering, you know? That's at least how I took it.
But I mean, like the start of the scene was about I'm gonna be delicate with my wording. It was about the like largeness of the other girl.
Oh yeah.
And that was a very long shot.
It was.
Like, that's what I was talking about. Like, I agree that them looking at her was not necessarily the same way as the things you described, because I do think that they were watching her for those reasons. I do think that they were interested in how, like, just how good she was at tennis and how she was moving and all the things you said. But I also think that, like, it did start from this place of just general, like, teenage hormones.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And, like, I'm not saying that, like, it's bad. I'm not saying, like, the way that teenagers look at people they're attracted to is bad. I'm just saying
I'm not saying that either.
But it's, like, it's a little unnecessary, I think, in this context.
I think maybe it's again that like if this is supposed to be a girl movie for boys, maybe that's like part of where that's supposed to play in a way that feels like a little jarring, but like it's there.
I just,
Yeah,
it's just strange.
My thought, I mean, Michelle had a very interesting take on all this, but
Yeah.
my general thought is that I think this movie does a really realistic job of portraying just casual sexism of high school boys. So I think it plays into the realism of the movie. Like it's not just the tennis scene. There's also other comments that they make. And I don't think like it's the movie's perspective that it's espousing. I think it's just like, yeah, these are stupid teenagers. That's what they're saying.
What happens, yeah.
That's how I mostly saw the tennis scene as well. Was like, this we're coming at it from the guy's perspective. This is how they're looking at women at this age. So,
yeah.
Like in a way, it seems like a more grown-up version of the moment in Only Yesterday where she sees the boy that she starts to like playing baseball. Because like then it's all about like how good he is at it, and that's the moment when everyone's cheering him on that she kind of is like, oh, like I already know that he has a crush on me, but seeing him like so effortlessly play this like sport game, like maybe I like him too, like maybe it's like because they're younger in that, but I feel like it's the same kind of like. You have people of the opposite sex who are probably attracted to each other in a school setting. They watch each other play sports. It's one of the few times they really interact, and like they notice each other.
Man, comparing the incredibly innocent scene of childhood love to and this is the horny version. That's what you're saying.
That's exactly what it is. The horny high school version.
It's an interesting comparison. I did think the Only Yesterday comparisons, we can use that to pivot a little bit. I think that that's the most logical Ghibli movie to compare it to, because this movie similarly has a flashback structure.
Yeah, that's true.
I will admit, I did not even understand that the beginning was a flashback when I rewatched it. I didn't remember that part of the movie. And in the beginning he leaves to go back to Kochi, his hometown, because he's in college in Tokyo for the reunion. But then we don't really like check in on it. It's just like there, and then at the end, like we're back in the quote unquote present where he's arrived. And I also think it's confusing in that maybe you guys can tell me whether you thought this was obvious. There's a train scene in the very beginning where Taku and Rikako see each other, but that is when Taku is going back to Kochi and Rikako is going to Tokyo to avoid the reunion. Yeah. And then at the end, they're going back in opposite directions, and that's when they see each other again.
Yes.
And that's when their relationship will culminate, I guess, and we get a dramatic, him going to see her. So I found it a little bit confusing. The most interesting, I think, application of the flashback format is these transitions that they do, where they have this picture frame. They have this white border surrounding it. They make the shot smaller, and then they make it even smaller, and they have a white border surrounding it. I didn't even know that that's what it was, but Colin, Odell, Michelle, Blanc about it say, for a TV animation, Ocean Waves is beautifully produced with strong attention to detail and a striking use of perspective. It has an unusual flashback motif where photo frames from the past influence the present. Although not in the same league as its big screen cousins, Ocean Wave is still an enjoyable drama. So that's kind of their overall assessment, which I agree with. But it's a photo frame flashback motif that I think is the intent.
I like it. Good.
Yeah, did you guys get that, or was it like, I guess
it took me a little while. I have to admit this. I didn't realize the flashbacks were happening until like halfway through.
Most of the movie takes place in the flashback, so I know I didn't understand that it was a flashback until the end. Yeah, I didn't really. That didn't come together for me.
I liked the frame because then for me it felt like a very good visualization of like, this is his memory, so it's apart from reality. It's like floating in his own kind of movie box in his mind. So it makes sense that it has like a white border around it, as if it's like kind of a thought bubble or something. So I kind of liked it as a visual thing.
Yeah, I like it too, looking back on it. I think everything could have been a little bit clearer, and they could have threaded the flashback a little bit more into the middle. But I like that transition, and it enhances kind of the visual distinctiveness of the movie. And I think that this makes sense as a movie to have an Only Yesterday type structure. Obviously, in Only Yesterday, it's like significantly more powerful in that it's her as an adult looking back as her as a child. This is like, hey, Taku's like 2 years older, and he's looking back on high school stuff as he's going to his high school reunion. But I think this is like the young people's version of Only Yesterday, the high school version of it. Yeah, I don't even remember where we're transitioning from. Oh yeah, the tennis stuff. Okay, then we can get into we're not going back there. We can talk about Taku and Yutaka now. How about this? So you guys have both seemingly read this as a romantic underpinning between the two male leads. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Michelle, you mentioned some of the evidence. It's the way they talk to each other. It's like a charged nature in their interactions. Like, what stands out to you?
Well, Taku just it's like one, the importance they place on each other, but then it's also just because this is Taku's perspective, the way he frames Yukata as like special and as standing apart from his other relationships, which I'm assuming his other relationships at the time were also high school boys. So what makes Yutaka like stand out apart from all his other high school boys? Why?
Right, like he probably has other friends, right? But he only remembers him.
He does.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that he takes the time to keep saying that kind of stuff that like feels like, oh, what does that mean? But also just like kind of how they are with each other. Like again, it struck me as very weird that like at the beginning of the movie, Taku's at his part-time job, he gets his call from Yutaka and he's like, you gotta get over here right now. Like he doesn't say it's an emergency, but he makes it sound very urgent. So Taku like ditches work, runs back to school, and like Yutaka's there like looking at some girl through a window and he's like, oh my god, like she's so hot, you gotta see her right now. Yeah. And he's like, this is why you called me? Like when that first happened, I was like, this is a bizarre chain of events. Like, who does this? And, like, the more I sat there watching it, I was like, oh, my God. Like, my new theory is, like, the reason Yutaka does that, it's, like, Taku's the closest person in his life. He might not feel like he's able to outwardly be in love with Taku. So when he finds this girl that he might honestly be attracted to, like, he wants to share that with Taku, which is interesting. And I think, like, the fact that they weirdly bond over both liking this girl, even though it gets kind of sad when, like, Yutaka, like, realizes Rikako might, like, mesh with him better because they're real on a level with each other that he just, like, isn't with her. Like, I think it runs a little deeper than that. And I feel like especially when he punches him right before their friendship breaks up forever, I feel like that's, like, the biggest thing. Like, honestly. Because, like, he's frustrated. Yutaka's frustrated in that moment that, like, Taku doesn't realize as he's saying out how amazing he thinks Rikako is that he is into her. And he hates that, you know, they can't, like, he feels like he can't have him, that they can't have each other, that, like, one of them might end up with this girl, but they can't be together, and it just ruins their friendship, and I'm very upset that they weren't able to rekindle that in the future, even when Yutaka comes clean and says, like, I'm sorry, I punched you, this is the reason, you're in love with her, like, go for it if you want, essentially.
Yeah,
like
don't they reunite? I mean, they're talking again.
But then it's very like he's gonna go back to school, and who's like in Tokyo? It's not Yutaka. It's
for now. Eventually, maybe they could.
But like I don't know, they had something very, very special and very deep in their high school years, and I feel like that's like what leaves me wistful in this movie. Is just like what could have been, and how much these two boys clearly meant to each other, and how it suddenly was all over. Like, I couldn't get over that. Like, the fact that Yutaka realized that Taku liked Rikako is what ended their... Because, like, again, it's like, Yutaka already liked her, so, like... And he was the one who, like, basically introduced Taku to Rikako. So it's like, is he really that surprised? I think it was honestly, like, he kind of liked this girl, but then seeing his best friend like her, like, hurt him in a deeper, more profound way that he could not get over. Because he did love him genuinely, and that's why their friendship broke up. That's a much more plausible reason to me for a friendship breaking up that had at least gone on for like 3 years or something. They were each other's best friends. You don't just break up over that. I mean, I feel like it had to have been that he realized that he does like this girl, but that means he also doesn't love me the way he loves this girl, and like I can't anymore, you know. And that's very sad, but it's relatable. I mean, yeah, that happens.
They do fall apart.
They do fall apart
so quickly and then abruptly, and then it's college. But
again.
don't it? Well,
they never
wait.
spoke again until the reunion. That is
the
crazy.
Reunion. Yeah, don't it be like that though when high school ends?
Like that.
Yeah, that's my big summary. Is me. Don't it be like that about high school?
It
right?
Like, feel like. Wait, can I ask something before we go on what Michelle said? Do high school reunions really happen 2 years after?
I think I was invited to one. Yeah,
I thought it was like a 5-year story.
I think I had a 1 year. I didn't go. I think there's a 1 year reunion. Like I think
that sounds stupid.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But I Michelle, that is a very succinct and beautiful way to say that they really liked each other, because they did. But they did. But all I have to say as evidence is they be gay because they really do be gay.
Yeah, like, they are also. You just can't deny their vibes.
Like there's this Taku just says like how special.
Yes, Yutaka is. Yeah,
and it's just like so descriptive and so like defensive. Like he wants to protect him, and it's just very gay. And it always feels like we see their relationship a lot more than with Rikako. Yeah. And I think that's just based on the structure of the film, but because of that, it really feels like they are much, much, much closer than I ever feel that Rikako is to either of them. And I don't think that's necessarily like, I think that's just the structure of the film, but it does make it seem like they're very, very, very close, much closer than anyone else in the movie. And it really, and even beyond that, it feels like the punch just doesn't make sense to me unless there's some feelings both ways.
Exactly.
Doesn't, like, if this is just like a straight thing, it just doesn't fit in my brain. But if there's feelings for both of them, you could just feel the anger coming off Yukata and just understand that, like, he's upset that both of them are out of his reach now, and he's not getting access to high school, or he's confused, and it makes sense to me on a lot of levels.
And it hurts him much more because what he had with Taku was so much deeper and more realized, like, on an intimacy level than Rikako. So losing him, I think, even more than Rikako is, like, what hurts the most, which is why he gets, like, a big, like, he, like, lifts him off the ground with that punch. It's such a punch.
It's a very anime punch. It was great.
You always gotta punch the unlikable character at the end of the movie.
I
always say that.
Taku's the unlikable character.
I mean, I think so. I think Taku, like, what the most unlikable thing Taku does is he not necessarily pursues, but he goes along with Rikako despite knowing Yutaka likes her, and he never talks to Yutaka about it. And I think, like, the movie does a good job of, like, having you go along with it, but then you're like, yeah, probably this was not good. Like,
no, the worst thing Taku does is he bought a picture of Rikako on the beach from Hawaii from a classmate.
Okay, yeah,
that's
creepy. That's another element.
He bought one, and then he kept it because
he kept it into college.
Yeah, you kept it into college. That is legit the weirdest, grossest thing that he did.
But also that's real. I think that's realistic with high school.
When I saw that, I was like, Rikako deserves the money. That's her in that picture. She should get the money from that.
Yeah, where's her licensing of her? Yeah.
I think that... Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I think that that all is very unsympathetic, the buying the pictures, but I'm fine with him going to Tokyo. He was owed money. Yeah. If someone owed me $400, I would do a lot in high school to make sure I got that money.
Yeah, I mean, that is fair.
I kind of laughed because, like, when the dad gave him the money back, I'm like, great, now he's going to have to spend it all buying a ticket back home. Like, it's at home without spending his money. Yeah. So he'll just, like, be back where he was, basically.
You put him up in a hotel, at least. Fancy hotel.
I would have rather just bought the kid a plane home. Just go home, kid.
Yeah, just go home, kid. This is our family drama. You don't need to be in this.
Oh, yeah. I also had the Rikako family drama stuff. Yeah.
Oh, my God. the girlfriend leaving was just like
Oh.
there's okay, like I got it after a bit what was happening, but I think the whole movie is just like it. There's a lot to say for doing like show not tell, but it could have told like maybe like a line more some scenes where it's just like make sure you know exactly what's happening. Because it sometimes took me a few minutes after the scene was over to realize, oh, that was the dad's girlfriend leaving. This wasn't. Because I was like, why is this new wife just leaving? Like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's a girlfriend. I gotcha.
I do think it was a really humanizing moment when Rikako, because like she wants to go, she becomes like way more animated and like excited when she's like in Tokyo, you know, because it's like familiar ground. She was a lot more reserved in Kochi, and she really gets back to like what I assume her normal self was when she's like walking, and she's like sharing all these details about her life with Taku. She's like feeling very at home. They get to that apartment and she's like so glad to be back, and she asks her dad like to see her room. And I feel like this moment's really good because like when she realizes that it was like painted a different color and everything, the decor is different because the new wife is there and she's changed everything. It kind of cements for her that like there is no going back home and that this dad doesn't actually want her there. Like he got rid of all the things that were hers. And he is prepared to just move on with his new life and maybe not see her a ton. And I feel like the knowledge of that just like makes it so sad. Because like, yeah, she doesn't have a lot of control with like being shipped off with her mom. And at first she said like she was on her dad's side, right? Like she confides this to Taku later. And then now she realizes that like her mom was just like making probably the best choice for both of them. And that her dad doesn't really want her back home. And he's just kind of moving on without her and the mom. And that just like would hurt, you know, to realize, and that everything's different, and it's not as simple as just going back to your other parent. Like it really is like that life is gone for good now, and it's changed. Yeah, I think it's a really humanizing moment. Like Rikako does some things that I'm just like, oh girl, why? But like I think you really feel for her when you see like all this family stuff.
Yeah, I think that was a good part you're right, at sympathizing, characterizing her and stuff. I think that let you into her mindset for what we're seeing a lot. And yeah, to finish off Taku and Yutaka, yeah, I agree. It's just very, very charged between them the entire time. The punch is the culmination of that. They have a meet cute in the movie where they, you know, like when they're both protesting the school trip. Mm-hmm. They always talk. I mean, I didn't get the impression that they saw each other all the time. Like maybe they are best friends just because Taku doesn't have anyone he sees like every day. But I think like they don't see each other like super, super often. And so, but still, it's all he thinks about.
The fact that he went to the school with like he left his job early.
His job wasn't done. He just ditched it for this guy.
There were so many dishes left. Can you imagine if I was doing that job, like of dishwashing? Like, those dishes were so meticulously drawn in that scene, and it was like they were piled up. And if I just left my job and looked at that giant pile, specifically after a superior said, "Please focus on those dishes more," and then I just said, "Bye," I'd be fired.
Yeah, also your boss is a former mafia guy. That's terrifying. Don't do that.
The other guy comments when he's leaving, like, dang, like, high schoolers,
they're so,
whatever. Yeah.
Kids are so unreliable. I'm like, yeah,
kids are so unreliable.
Kids! They're not their kids!
They have to go to their best guy friend and see what the emergency is.
Yeah, I mean, I think all this speaks to the movie put a lot of work into characterizing Taku and Yutaka's relationship, and I think it was one of the most successful parts of the movie. I think they, like we've mentioned, they're seen by the ocean towards the end of the movie. I think that's wonderful. Oh, by the way, randomly mentioned, speaking of the ending, there's a whole scene where Taku is like looking at the Kochi castle lit up, and he has all these flashbacks of Rikako. Like, okay, that's a lot.
That was the most like drama part. Like again, like I feel like the moment on the pier with the two best friends felt like a lot more emotionally culminating than him having that montage of like, oh yes, I'm in love with Rikako all along. It is true, because when they're on the pier, it's like they're confessing all these things they regretted from their past and like really trying to be open and vulnerable with each other for the first time in years. And you get all that, and it's like, yeah, and time is still passing, and like it's kind of sad that we broke up over something like that, but we, like, you were figuring out how you felt, and, like, you know, but it's like you feel all that in the moment. I think it's the most emotionally charged moment for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that with their interactions in the movie, and I think it's easy to see them romantically. I think, like, I guess what the movie's doing is it's it's just heightened drama for all of the aspects it's portraying, and there's this tension between these two friends who have a deep connection because they both have experiences with the same girl, and so we kind of read now this high drama of the tension between them as charged and romantic, and maybe it's not what they're going for at the time. That'd probably be how I'd explain it. But I mean, it's hard, I feel like, not to watch it and think that with those two. And also, like, again, getting into the realism, if they do have feelings for each other, you know, they're probably not gonna even realize it fully in 90s Japan, and they're gonna, like, take it out on the same girl that they're, like, pursuing instead of realizing their feelings for each other. And it's like sad, but it feels like how this would go if they did.
That's what I mean. Like, that's why it's so wistful. It's like the lost opportunity, because, like, for reasons that make sense, they aren't able to communicate that, maybe even to themselves, let alone to each other at this point in time. But doesn't mean those feelings, you know, weren't there. Because, like, it always surprised me how, like, quick Yutaka is to, like, tell the girl, like, I love you. He tells her that, like, before the end of the movie, and she's really upset by it, because, like, you get that he doesn't really know her that well. Like, nobody really knows her that well. She's still a new kid there. But it's like, yo, if he could say that to her, like, then what does he feel for his best friend, like, who is a much bigger part of his life and way more connected to? I just, you know...
Yeah, I agree that, like, I think Yutaka's feelings for Rikako came across as superficial.
They did.
I think with Tako it was a little deeper, but yeah, no, I think it was intentional. But yeah, it stands out that the Taku Yutaka bond is the one that feels the deepest and
the most developed, for sure.
Yeah,
I also. Yeah. You haven't mentioned it yet, but there's also a line at the end of the pier scene which I think is the most important, where they say they were there for an hour.
Yes!
Like, the scene we saw is just a snippet.
They're just standing there talking, looking at the waves together for an hour, and even if it's in silence, like, that is just so much.
That's,
you know?
so romantic.
That's just how it be. Enjoy the sunset with your not romantic male friends.
Just sitting there
Watch it, no homo. Yeah.
If you're standing with somebody you don't care about, you'd be like, okay, like, I gotta go do things. Like, you would just sit there for an hour, you know?
They just have such a deep connection.
And also, like, you can't convince me they did not at least think about kissing each other during that hour.
Yeah, they're older now.
Do you honestly think that if our read on the movie is they're, like, really repressed and don't realize it, do you think they actually were thinking about that?
I think they thought about it. They tried it, but they probably thought about it.
Like, Death of the Author is here. They were definitely gay, and this scene was where they almost that, and they've had the hour long thing is supposed to be the hint to us that they stayed there for an hour, both of them thinking about kissing each other.
I bet, like, it really was like, oh wow, like, Taku, he looks so much more mature now. I love that pink shirt on him. And was like, oh, like, I always love those glasses on Yutaka, and, like, wow, like, he seems so at peace with himself now, like, he really knows who he is. Like, I want that kind of energy in my life. Like, I bet it was, like, a lot of those kind of thoughts too, which, like, amount to more if they would explore them deeper, but on the surface, at least, like, they're thinking about each other and they're, like, having emotional reactions to those thoughts.
I just don't know what they would talk about. Like, they already got out of the way to, like, really deep, like, things they felt they needed to apologize to each other for. It's just left, like, not much. And, like, they didn't look like they were relaxed sitting there. Like, they
got those sexy trumpets going, like, in the background. I mean,
there's a lot there. There's a lot that could have happened in that hour, and I want that movie. I want that hour of movie.
I want it too. Could you imagine, like, they rekindle their romance after, like, all that triangle drama with some girl, and then they, like, realize what they meant to each other all along, and they're like, well, like, I'm not the same person I was back in high school, but, like, I am, like, I want to be open to finding out who I am with you now if you'll have me.
Oh my
Like,
god!
that'd be
Can
so
you imagine?
good.
Can you imagine a show like this movie being as explicit as Given, Michelle, and just like this was like actually a thing? Oh my
I would
god!
kind of love it to be a period drama from the 90s, though, with all that kind of like
Yeah.
repression as a part of it, just to like see them opening up and just dealing with the world.
I think this works better knowing like the time we're in now. Like I think this read is much easier now because we can see those like repressed natures. Like it's a lot easier to see like there's something more here. Like, but I think in the 90s this might just have been like they're just friends. Like this is just how it is.
I could totally see Taku like dating Rikako in college since they're both in Tokyo, and Rikako like eventually is like, Taku, like, I know you like me, but I feel like it's not the same. And maybe there's somebody you like more, and maybe it's your best friend.
You see, he sees Yutaka for the first time in a few years, and Rikaku watches as they hug for a super long time, and she's like,
so
"Oh
excited
my god!"
to see each other, and they keep
Yeah.
coming alive with him in a way that he isn't with me. Maybe I should tell him that. Maybe they're gay.
Oh my god!
So we're asking for the Ocean Wave sequel set a few years later.
I'm fine with dating Taku as like a bi boy. And
yeah, I think they could both be like. I think they're both queer in some capacity.
Yeah,
for sure.
but I think it's more likely that Yukata is like just trying to be straight right now, or at least you want.
Yes, and that's why it hurts him so much harder. Because like he's trying to like this girl because he can't like again the fact that he called Taku when he sees this cute girl is like I gotta share this moment with him. Like
This
why?
is what boys do. This is what straight boys do.
It's because like he could channel his attraction to Taku onto somebody else and be like, "Oh, this is fine. See, like I'm telling Taku how cute this girl is, and he's agreeing with me. This is normal and cool. And yeah, this is who I like. It's this girl." But then when Taku falls in love with her, it's like, "Oh no,
something's wrong in my brain."
Yeah, all those mental somersaults I've been doing to be attracted to this girl backfired, and now the one I really likes her too, and they're gonna get together. And oh no, it's the worst case scenario." He punches him.
Okay, she punches him. Yeah, that's how it ends. Okay, we need the sequel. We need the gay Ocean Wave sequel. Yeah. I don't know who's making it, but it's got to happen. That's what we're saying. Michelle, any final comments on Ocean Waves?
I mean, I honestly did enjoy it. I do think like taking it for what it is, like I really thought it was going to be a different movie. I thought they were going to go to a beach, but it wasn't. And
did they ever go to a beach in this
movie?
They
don't. I mean, they're on a beach in Hawaii, but again, like the cover art of like him and the girl on the beach just like never canonically happened. So I don't even know why that's promotional art. I think maybe it would seem really gay if it was the two guys on the cover, but then again, that is the movie. So
it is.
I do enjoy this movie. I think like now that I've tapered my expectations, I probably like it even more upon rewatch because it is just very like it's very high drama at times, but it's also just like super realistic and like, yeah, this is high school. It sure is high school. And that can be fun to watch sometimes, especially the older you are and more removed from high school. I think that's important.
I agree.
Yeah. But it's a good movie. I enjoy it.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Maddie, final thoughts?
Just there's like I'm still like immersing myself in like the understanding of like queer culture and queer media. Like I'm still like only like a little over a year into like actually like existing simultaneously as it's different watching queer stuff now than before. And this is just like so weird that this is not gay because they are so gay.
Yeah.
And I think it's all of my opinions on this movie.
Maddie quote 2020, this is so gay. Ocean Waves, 5-star.
A lot of quotes on her.
I mean, like, I wish 2020 was so gay, Michelle.
I wish it was gayer than it is. That's true. That's always my wish.
Like, can we just focus on the gay instead of everything else?
Yeah, when we get the Ocean Waves remake, then it'll be truly culminate.
Then we get the true love triangle. Those are the best. The true love triangles where anyone can date anyone are actually.
No, that's what we needed.
Those are the most exciting. When really anyone's on the table, that's the best, craziest drama. Yes.
Like when it's just two boys fighting over a girl, it's like this isn't a love triangle. This is like
That's a V. That's not a triangle.
Yeah.
That's a V. Exactly.
But when everyone can just like, who knows where we're going with it? Like it's so dramatic. It's so good. It's so gay.
I've been looking for Ocean Waves fanfics while we're talking. I'm not finding any, though. I'm not finding any. So I don't know
because movies only existed in this country at least since 2016, right? It's barely been out at all.
I know. Now I'm searching the Japanese name.
Ooh, there you go.
That's a good name.
You go.
No, I still don't see it.
Are you on AO3 right now?
I've searched AO3 and fanfiction.net.
Oh my god!
I'm like, there must be so many fics of the two guys. But
we need to write the one shot of the pier. The 1 hour.
Here's the full hour that you missed.
The full hour of the pier.
And it involves them kissing and confessing their feelings, and we just skip through it in the movie.
Or like they confess that they don't know what to do and they're not ready yet, but they talk about it.
They promise 5 years from now they can confront their true feelings and they'll come back to this pier.
And then 5 years from now, Taku sees Yukina at the train station.
Yes! They repeat it. Like, oh no! And he has this thing in his head where it's like, why does this feel like a more big deal than like when I saw her, and like why is my heart doing things now than it wasn't doing before, and like why does everything suddenly make sense but not make sense? And it's like, it's you're the one.
Just like imagine.
Yes.
Okay. We're on this. We have a sequel. We have during the movie fanfic.
And we gotta kickstart it and to just find people to actually animate it for us.
and I think that Rikako would totally be behind this.
Yeah, she would realize and be like, look, I'm your friend. I like you. I want to help you out here and give you a clue because you don't have one for some reason.
I think like the credits like show that she like reciprocates, but that's never shown in the movie.
They just look at each other. I mean,
it's true. We don't really get the reaction.
She could have gone to see it because he was like her one closest friend in high school. So she'd rather see him individually than everyone. And that's the thing, like, I do understand when all the kids are together for the reunion where they devote so much time to the girl who didn't even like her, and they let her just go on and on about how much she hates her with the two guys.
She goes off.
Yeah, she goes off with the two guys who presumably had crushes on her. It's like, girl, read the room. You're not the two boys to backtalk this girl about. Like, what?
We get a lot about this is the second one. We get a lot of Yumi talk at the reunion.
Yeah.
Also, who is this boy that suddenly has a crush on her?
I know. I had no idea who he is.
No idea. I felt bad for her when he was like super drunk, like almost falling into her. Like, I love you, Yumi. But it's like, girl does not do that.
I'm glad that the movie kind of implied that was weird, but then he shows up later with her, and it's just like, oh. So this is okay. Like, it's weird.
It's just like, he's like much bigger than her, and he was very drunk. I was like, oh, poor Yumi.
He's a very big boy, and that's the scary part.
Yeah. That also happened. Yeah, nothing to do with anything.
There was a lot of alcohol in that last scene.
They were getting. They needed it.
That's how you get through the reunion.
I mean, alcohol. Like, I can't imagine, like, wanting to go back to, like, a high school reunion ever. Like, I just can't.
If you need to see the guy you had repressed feelings for, that's why you gotta go back.
I had no feelings for any guys.
You know, from Taku's perspective, of course.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Taku's perspective.
Not Rikako.
There's
also
that
Rikako.
feeling though of going back to show them like, hey, I'm a girl now, and then leaving immediately.
Yeah, just take the free alcohol. Say hello.
Definitely, if there's free alcohol.
Yeah, see that's
alcohol. Just walk out and be like, bye. They're like, who are you? Like, bye.
Okay. That was fun discussion on Ocean Waves. I don't think I have any further thoughts. There you go. Overlyanimated.com for all the ways to comment and leave feedback on whether you also read this movie as a male-male romance, like we largely did. Tell us that. Consider supporting us via Patreon, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Alex, and thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan Seabox, features Hugh, Michael, Needle, and Phonician. Back to more typical Ghibli fare, although it's a weird one coming up too. But
oh my god, I've heard so much about this. I'm afraid of it.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
I'm afraid, but I know about the magical body parts.
Yeah, I
I'm
think you
scared.
mentioned it in. I don't know if it's on the podcast, but you've talked
Yeah.
about it.
Oh God.
So there we go. We're getting the Pompoko, then Whisper of the Heart. So very exciting.
Yes.
I know you love Whisper of the Heart, Dylan.
Yes,
Michelle
I
does
love it
too.
too.
Yeah.
It's so it's kind of a perfect movie, like for real.
This is
That's okay. Already prepare for that discussion too
all
in
right.
2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks for that.
See if for a perfect movie. We'll see if we find Pompoko to be a perfect movie. That's another one I haven't seen in a long time.
Perfectly
So I
absurd. I mean, if you like raccoon dogs, then it is a perfect movie, I guess.
I mean, who doesn't? I would say. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.